Gang, welcome to this week's MLS Connect call. And I know some more people will be jumping on as we go, but we're going to record this so we'll have access to it. Nash Stopko in Iowa has asked about local service trips that he wants to do. And so we're going to dovetail that along with when we travel abroad and do other mission trips and jump in the ins and outs, best practices, and things that have worked for people, things that haven't worked for people, and really get that discussion. I think it's a great discussion, great questions that Nash is asking, and we'll see the feedback from everybody on here and see where it goes. So welcome, everybody, and Dr. Nash, kick us off. Tell us what you're up to and what you're thinking about spreading chiropractic to your community.
Well, first and foremost, Dr. Wade, Dr. Nathan, thanks for creating this environment to be able to share a little bit of the vision that's not mine as much as the vision of chiropractic and kind of the scope BJ Palmer had in mind. So I guess that's kind of where my thought process initially started. I believe it was from Our Masterpiece, from what I recall, but in multiple books, BJ references how chiropractic's one of the potential behind chiropractic is the ability to change the planet. And he talks about adjusting the people in the prison system and the people who truly need the care. And after my mission trip this last December, I saw a lot of really powerful things where the idea of expecting miracles wasn't just an epigram anymore. It was truly something that one adjustment and you really see amazing things happen with life force in somebody's and people that are really ready to receive. So getting back from that, I didn't want to just leave that feeling at, I can't wait to go again next year, which I can't wait to do that as well. But in the meantime, what am I doing to impact my community around me? So that led me down the path of looking into and contacting local houseless shelters around my area. So I've reached out to them, and I have this Saturday I'm coordinated to come down and serve people of the community there, and they've done a really awesome job helping me get the word out. So they've done a little bit of marketing within their own community to let people know that I'll be there this Saturday, and not just this Saturday, but I want to make it a monthly thing. So that's when I reached out to Dr. Wade, asking him his experiences. Has he done something like this? What has he found? What have you found effective? And do you have any advice for how I can make this experience not only powerful, but really make it flow the way that I think it can?
Beautiful. And so this is a real gift to everybody, Nash. And thank you so much for that background of even bringing in BJ's writing some of the green books and the treasure trove that is there, which can be so taken for granted. I was speaking to Morgan earlier about some of the students in other countries who don't have the access to the green books and the philosophy and the principle that we have that can be so easily taken for granted. So where I'll start here, and we'll open it up to the floor. And there's several points in your question and in your statement that we can jam out on for a long time, but we'll be as quick as possible. When I was in school at Life University, I was noticing a lot of the almost the allure and seduction of a foreign abroad mission trip. And I noticed that, and something happened within me that was not really a logical or mental exercise, was where you're at, Nash, of, well, on my way to the park the other day, I saw several homeless people. Or last time I went downtown, I saw people that were in terrible shape. I saw people houseless and all this stuff who were hungry, clearly hungry. And so I did have that fire and that drive of, I get it, let's go to these foreign places, but also, why do we even need to travel to go somewhere else? There are people suffering so horribly right here in our backyard, even in a place like Marietta, pockets of affluence everywhere. And so at Life, I founded and started up, and Dr. Steve Merching, I don't know if any of you guys remember him, but we started the Life Outreach Mission Program. And we coordinated with Must Ministries, and we went to battered women's shelters around Marietta and the surrounding communities. And so I just want to sprinkle that in, that every community, no matter where you are, has somewhere near you that you can satisfy this need, this urge to serve more people through chiropractic right in your own backyard. And so I love that we're keeping that conversation close by, because that can be like you're saying, a consistent practice of your private practice in your community, which I have a load of ways that I volunteer my time, energy, and money. And that is a beautiful one right there. And no matter what we're doing with the other avenues that we are doing our own ministry and our own service or missionary type of work, that you can always dovetail chiropractic and attach chiropractic to anything that you're doing. And so very, very good. And now to comment more on how it can be impactful. So just getting ready for this call, the first question that comes up is why? Why mission trips? Why do it? And that's a great question for everything we do in life and everything that we're moving towards and having a vision for. And so we could flesh that out for a minute, but I'm going to go ahead and speak to what Morgan and I talked a lot about earlier, is organization. So preliminary planning is crucial to impact. And so you're going to have to cut your teeth on this process, Nash, and it's going to organically happen where you're going to develop more and more and more and more organization in order for you to make an impact. And so, and I want to hear from Nathan and Morgan and others about their experiences with mission trips. But, you know, one of the things that I love to do is I'm a very passionate music fan. And over the years, ever since I was in chiropractic school, I loved serving the performing artists and the musicians. And so, you know, here's a couple of pictures of me at the Tabernacle and Verizon and some other festival. And my table just went with me everywhere. And what I got to realize in the beginning is it's not part of the culture. And so, you know, these massive touring bands with multi-million-dollar productions, chiropractic and that way of life is just not part of the culture. So those people don't even know how to participate. And I'm talking, they're riding up in $500,000 buses. These are not poor people by any means, but they don't understand the culture that you understand. And so that's when I really had to get, if I wanted to make a huge impact with these people, and the way I see it is, if I can serve these musicians who are going to go out and now share and possibly channel this light, this love, this spirit through them and their artistry to a group of 5, 10, 20, 30, 40,000 people in the arena, now I'm touching all of them. And that blessing that touched me, that I allowed through, that touched them, is touching them. And now they're a prism of this light to all of the people, not just in the town that I saw them in, but the next town and the next town and the next town. And so I love that possibility of making that impact, but it takes planning. And so now I got to know, and it's hilarious. While we were waiting for a couple people to jump on, I just got a text message from Jake from a band called Humphreys McGee. Not too many people know about them, but I've been taking care of them for over 20 years. And it's because I showed up at the venue one day with my table in hand. I had no idea who they were, but I said, I'm the chiropractor. I'm here to serve. Where do you want me to set up? And, you know, ever since those days, now it's like I'm connected with the tour manager, the road manager. I've got all the numbers, the contacts, the credentials. They know where I'm coming in. They've already put out a message to their staff, their security, their load in, their load out, their light people, their sound producers, etc. So they all know we have windows of time, which I'm going to be there, which they can serve. And so now I can see a lot more people. So we'll speak to that on abroad mission trips. I know Morgan can really speak to that, but even the local ones, you have to teach them how to receive care. And that's the same in practice as well. So Morgan, do you want to chime in, or Nathan, anybody else, on the difference you've seen with having a very well produced and planned out trip and not so much?
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually just came back from my 6th mission trip, and I've been on different ones with different people, and I've experienced very unorganized and very organized atmospheres. And I noticed that the very organized atmospheres were people who actually came back to the community, especially abroad, more often than not. They were there every other month, every 2 months. They implanted themselves in that community and became friends with the community leaders, which I find extremely important because that allows for the organization to unfold in a more natural and organic way. Whereas I have also been on a mission trip where I didn't necessarily see a lot of organization, and things were kind of just like by the fly of our pants, and it wasn't necessarily very secure. It didn't feel as secured as a student, kind of leaning on those leaders when they didn't even really know what was going on as well. So I honestly think that being as organized as possible, as well as having people who also have very good organizational skills, who are in different roles in the community, who can help promote you, is key in your success.
Got it. So Nash, recognizing who your team is and delegating and actually empowering them with responsibilities of setting it up so that you can come and do what you do best, which is serve and educate.
Got it.
And part of that, I think, is also setting the grid, so to speak, of what is chiropractic. Why are you there? What is an adjustment? Especially in abroad service trips abroad, many people have never experienced chiropractic. They don't know what the word is. So that presents a beautiful opportunity where we get to define it. We get to define for people what is chiropractic. It is part of why on service trips, it is, from my experience, almost like entering hyperspace, where you're doing, and anyone who's been on a service trip can probably relate, you're doing months to years worth of care in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days with people, because they don't have the mental construct that this is only for back pain, neck ache, and headache. They don't have the mental construct of how long it's supposed to take. So we get to determine and set the grid. And a lot of that is the internal process of being able to hold ground for, as Nash said very early on the call, those miracles to manifest now. And part of that I have found extremely useful is I will write up, what is chiropractic? Like I'll write it up as a pair, like, what is chiropractic? What is the process you're about to receive? What do many people experience on the table and after the adjustments? And then, especially for abroad trips where it's English is not the primary language, I will then have it translated. So I have a Spanish version. If anyone wants it on the call, we'll find a way to get it to you. And you can translate it into any language you want. And then have that, like, I brought laminated versions of it. And so they could just sit on the chairs as people were waiting and people could read them. You could also do it as you create like a roll-up banner or a pop-up banner if you have the ability to bring that with you. And then word starts to spread throughout the community. As Morgan and Wade both alluded to, you have to have a high level of structure and a high level of communication with the leaders of that community and whoever is coordinating for you to get the word out. Because once word gets out, at least from my experience abroad, people will tell everyone they know, and people will drive or walk for hours to come for your care. And I will never forget the experience. It was my first trip after I graduated, and I was the only chiropractor possibly in Nicaragua, at least at that time that I was aware of, at least on the island that I was there, the only one there. And I also happened to be serving with two of my best friends from undergrad who are physician's assistants. We set up our own, we called it the GPS center, guiding you to better health after our last names. We had ice cream vendors, not ice cream trucks, but like coolers on bikes that people would drive around, and that was how they made their money. They started showing up because we had so many people there, and it became this community event. We were playing music. We had kids playing outside. We had people waiting. We had people doing all these things, and so that is the community that gets to be created. And it does require the initial spark and catalyzation to get the word out. So part of it is telling everyone you serve, tell everyone you know about this. Call your friends, text your friends, because it's amazing. Even in extremely rural, impoverished areas, how many people have digital technology and just how quickly the word spreads. Tell everyone I'm here from this day to this day. And I will tell people come every single day. And so it is a matter of you get to set the terms. Those of us who are in practice have for sure bumped up against people's preconceived notions of what is chiropractic. And in those situations, and this is also true in the States, if people have never experienced it because it's so experiential, we get to redefine what it is, what it do, what it be.
Love that, Nathan. Very valuable. Any comments so far?
Question.
So, yeah, question, somebody?
Yep. Rick here.
Hey, Rick.
I'm southwest of Chicago. Howdy. So you mentioned a mission trip locally. They're right there in Marietta. Homeless and battered women's shelters, things of that nature. You're providing, you're serving at no cost to them, right? You're just setting up and you're saying, come on, I'm here to help.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Very cool. Thank you very much.
Yes. And so let's look at that construct for a moment. I'm in East Cobb. I have a private practice, 18 or so years now. And I am truly not looking to attract people that can't afford my care, honestly. And this is a whole nother topic for a different situation, I think. But everybody has the opportunity to be completely surprised by people who show up at your private practice in your office, who by all accounts cannot afford your care. And you give them a real care recommendation and a real plan for real results that costs real money. And I've watched some incredible things happen for people to do whatever it takes to pay your fees, pay my fees, and they have gotten some of the most life-changing results. And it's been awesome to watch. So I'm just making a distinction here between what I am attracting in my private practice, but then I do have a missionary heart to go to places that really have no access to care like mine or chiropractic in general and serve that community as well. Absolutely. And there needs to be a distinction, I believe, because I would caution against mixing the two too much. And then you have every single person in your private practice that you pay handsomely, just like your education for, who is on some sort of hardship program in your office. We can speak to that if that is up for people and they want to talk more about it. But I think that's just a brief little touch on the distinction between private practice and missionary work.
And if there's interest, we're more than happy to. I'm going to volunteer us. We're more than happy to do a separate call about that exact topic and navigating all of those different financial possibilities.
That is an important thing. Yes, I've seen that problem in my practice. People right away start asking for discounts and deep discounts, right? And it's not like I charge a lot. So yeah, definitely a call I would be interested in participating in. Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks, Rick. So Arno has
Doctors, yeah.
yes. Hey, Jim.
No, I just wanted to say that, you know, sometimes we live by mantras in our head, or epigrams or sayings. Dr. Sid said, "To give, to love, to serve." It was changed to give, to love, to do, to serve. That was just for whatever reason. But to give, to love, to serve is the first part of that. But the last part of that reads, "out of your own abundance." So just quickly, a friend of ours, they moved to Argentina. The whole economy had crashed. You had two very distinct groups of people that had no money and people that had money. So they had to very quickly serve the people that had money for care. And then later, and again, we can expand on this on another call, they set up every 3 weeks going to an orphanage, putting specific money aside to serve those specific people out of that abundance. For years, I lived out of the first part of that, which was to give, to love, to serve. But if we read two books, and we can post these two, The Giving Tree, as well as The Wounded Healer, you can quickly see that what we love can get sucked out of us by not coming from a place where you have some abundance to give as well.
Thank you, Tammy. So a question that is posed by Arno to us over and over and over again: if you had one chance with somebody, just one chance, and you could either adjust them or teach them the principle, law, and educate them on chiropractic principle and philosophy, which would you choose? You only get one. Which is it? So that's a good question to ponder. And so I believe, and Nathan has already gone over it, on that pre-planning structure of, he would make pamphlets. It would be in different languages. He would have them laminated. He would ship them off to the leaders of that community or the helpers in advance, so people could have already advanced knowledge so that they can talk educatedly about what's going to happen when you come. It's going to happen, I guess, if you do enough of it, where you have planned, you've prepped, you've taken your tables, you've taken time off the office or your family or whatever, and you show up and you're ready to serve, and there's either nobody there, people are wondering, like, should I? What? How do you do this? And there's this kind of stalemate almost of the energy, and we don't want that, but it can happen, and it has to organically grow sometimes, naturally how it does. But anybody want to comment on that? If you had one opportunity to adjust or educate, which would you choose?
Well, I want to comment on that. Your stalemate first is just because that was my experience in Brazil. I was on a mission trip. The organization that I went with had been going to Brazil on and off for years, for 2 decades. We just never gone to this particular region. So with whatever Portuguese I could muster, which was heavily supplemented by Spanish, we went to, there wasn't a lot of people there that first day. So we went to we were stationed at a church. We went to the businesses, we went up and down the streets, and we just let people know, hey, we're here to help. We're from the States. We're chiropractors. This is what it is. We would show them that laminated thing that happened to be in Portuguese. Thank God. And then that was so we intentionally left where one of us would go and the other one would stay for when people showed, and then kept moving it that way. And on that note, especially from my experience in Central and South America, letting not only community leaders, and often there's an overlap, religious leaders in the area, churches in the area know, because it is often a central hub for the communities, and to let people know, and especially those, I know everyone on this call, we all acknowledge and honor the sacredness of this vocation of chiropractic, and letting them know from that place, this is what it is, and this is what we're going to do. So if that sort of stalemate happens, it's a matter of, great, how do I navigate this? How do I go get the word out? Which in my case was, we're just going to walk and tell people. And I told all the business owners because they all knew everybody else. So just to comment on that for a moment.
What a good skill to grow a practice, huh?
Absolutely.
Yep. I'm seeing, just even doing the call, seeing so many overlaps with practice building and the challenges that are faced with a practice and all this stuff. It's just brilliant work. One thing that what are some of the, hey, don't do that. And a lot talking about students being invited to an abroad mission trip. And again, looking at the purpose of why you're going. And, I think there's a lot of people that are going for the wrong reasons. They're going before they're ready. The people are allowing them to go before they're ready. We know some great programs that have a very deep application process and a training process. Before you go, we're going to train it. And I know the gratitude that the people on those trips have for that structure, that training, and that discretion of, we're not going on these either local service trips or abroad mission trips to learn how to adjust. Like, we got to just get that out of the field, and that we train our butts off in order to be ready to serve when we go there and take care of people. And certainly there's going to be a scenario where somebody ends up on your table where you feel, hey, this is above my level right now. Let me call on one of the docs who's been doing this for 100 years and bring that in. That's not saying that you're in a camp of you shouldn't have done that. But why are you going? And it's not to take to get your new Instagram profile pic with an indigenous tribe member to satisfy your your ego of humanitarianism.
And not to say that you will not learn an immense amount about humanity, about yourself, about service on these trips. However, and everyone that I have gone on, and I know Nash and I know Morgan, and I know for them, when they went because they had something to give. They were going to serve, not because I want to go learn how to adjust. That's coming from probably several wounds, versus I'm going to go and be of service. And in that, one of the immense gifts, because there is always that law of dynamic exchange, one of the opportunities that I have will be to take many, many steps on my own path of mastery, being able to serve lots of people very, very quickly and efficiently. And one of the other things about mission trips that I find so wild and beautiful and fun is that, in your office, you may choose to do 10-minute, 15, 20-minute adjustments. When you are the only chiropractor for hundreds of miles in any direction, or it's you and 3 other people in this room, and you're the only chiropractors in the country potentially, and you've got 300 people in rows of chairs waiting, you find gears in yourself you didn't know you had. You find an ability to serve in ways you didn't know you had. You create new strategies for yourself and how you move, how you breathe, how you interact with a room. And especially because they are all watching you. Like you are both the service and the entertainment in some cases, which is it makes adjusting a 4-year-old in front of their parents like it's just a non-issue. And especially with the training that we do again and again and again with MLS. And one of the things that I did is, you all know how important it is to warm up. In Brazil, and actually in all the trips, people were sitting there waiting when we got there in the morning. So I led them through the warm up. It makes it a lot easier. Like, their muscles are warm, so it's easier to adjust. But it gets everyone in sync. It gets everyone aligned with the mission, vision, and purpose of why we are there. So just a quick sprinkling of that in your field. And again, with whatever language you have available to you in the local dialect, explain why you're there. Even if you learned 3 sentences of, Life can be stressful and throws you out of balance, but your body's brilliant, and we're going to help bring you back into balance. Proximo, next. Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to lead right into Wade's question, but it springboards off of all of this conversation on service and mission. It's Arno reminds us it's no different that if Cirque du Soleil was coming into town here, they didn't just show up. They planned, they performed, they trained for a performance. And of course, how much more should we train to serve human life?
Wow.
But that goes to Wade's question, why is it that we would serve? What is it that's inside our head that chooses us? So my initial response when Arno asked that question was, oh yeah, the adjustment changed my life. But the reality is what changed my life was the why, the philosophy, which Didi said is the science of all sciences, that the philosophy empowers them. It's teaching them to fish, versus just giving them the fish. It leads them to an anchor, to a change of mindset in a culture, depending wherever they're from, that leads them in a direction. And then obviously the adjustment follows or should match that philosophy. But it's why I go and serve people, it's why we do MLS. There's something bigger, some kind of intelligence and wisdom that runs the show that we get to be a part of.
Yes, Zach. What you got, Mo?
I was just gonna say something that I really would like to drive home into. We're coming from our background of MLS is we train, and you don't understand, or at least I didn't understand the immense importance behind that until I was standing on my feet for 9 hours with no break.
Oh my God.
And serving communities, and my body started to ache. And I was like, it was just one after another. So even if you are serving locally or abroad, the importance behind the structure of what we do. I mean, my first mission trip after I came back, I was like, I am so grateful for MLS. I am so deeply grateful because so many other people were only able to serve for 1 day versus 3 or 4 because they actually threw their backs out. And just the training, it's everything. You practice like you play, especially if you come from a sports background, like you carry that momentum with you throughout the rest of your life. And in all honesty, it's the reason why I've been able to continue through for hours and hours without having a break for even a sip of water at times. And that's nothing to brag about because you get severely dehydrated, but it's that process of mentally and physically being prepared at the same time to go on a mission trip, because I was almost pressured into going into a mission trip when I was in third quarter, and someone was like, but you're ready, you're so ready. And I was like, but I'm not. And I knew deep in my heart that I was not mentally and physically on the same level. And once you're at that point, and it's all because of the training. For me, in truth, it was all because of the training.
Beautiful. Thank you for that, Morgan.
Quick note about dehydration, because I have, speaking of serving the people, I'm going to go do that in a minute. One thing that I would really very much encourage you all for, if, and I'll just say when you choose to go on, especially service trips abroad, I notice this a lot more often, is keeping yourself in a state where you are a consistent vessel of service, meaning, there, like as Morgan said, 9 hours in a row. And then in my case, for the trips that I went on with my undergrad college, all the other students would come back from whatever they were doing that day, and then I'd be adjusting them. And so the training really comes into play, taking care of yourself in that moment. So that's going to like an outdoor store and getting like the energy bites that you can like that runners will use, and lots of water and all of these things. And then I would encourage you all to be very mindful of your energy in your field in the evenings. And meaning, if you are choosing to have a beverage with dinner, do so. I would recommend not until the end of the trip. Wait until the last night when you are completely done with the mission to celebrate that, rather than I'm aware of trips where people go and get hammered every single night at the hotel they're staying at. And I know I don't drink the night before I'm going to go to my office and serve. which at least currently is not the 500 or 600 people a day that I will on a mission trip, not yet anyway. So just to be very mindful of your energy, of your field, of how you take care of yourself on these trips, so that way you can serve a lot of people and be served as it moves, as these frequencies and codes and the perfect tone moves through you. I'll see y'all later.
See you, Nathan. Thank you.
Thanks, Nathan.
So, gonna wrap up
Love.
this last 5 minutes of the call with some logistics. And so I got Susan Rossi chiming in my ear over here, and I love her saying she doesn't fly under the radar, she flies over the radar. And so we can choose, and no matter what practice. So we have in practice, look at it from box on the wall to love offerings, bring your chickens, bring your eggs, wash my car, till my garden, build me a fence, and I will serve your whole family for the year, whatever, right? All the way to big contracts and people, practices with 8 associates, 10 accountants, 3 insurance department executives, and this massive amounts of administrative minutia for that practice, and not speaking any which way, not giving any recommendation on any way. But I can remember when I really started getting asked by these bands and producers to come to these venues and serve them, I would have clipboards and I would have little, started probably out with a full page, then a 3/4 page, then a half page, and then ultimately to nothing. When it came to, I'm supposed to have them sign something, right? I'm supposed to have something here, and I'm supposed to do a history and let me write down notes, and etc. like that. It's like I played around with that, but then I ultimately found that just got in the way. It was not necessary for me, and so I'm just speaking for me. When I go to one of these places, a venue, etc., there is the education that is sent out beforehand. But then a real go-to, and I know Morgan can echo this on her many mission trips that she has been on, and now helping to be assistant lead facilitator on some of these, is there anything you'd like for me to know about your spine? Don't worry, that might seem too hyper-focused on just the spine. They'll tell you if they have a metal plate in their head. They'll tell you, well, yeah, my leg got bit by a shark when I was 8. Typically, they'll tell you. A lot of times they won't, and you'll find it. The beautiful thing about the MLS training is it does set us up for anybody, anytime, anywhere, any condition, and trusting that your sensitivity in picking up things is absolutely what you've been training for. And another thing, just like in practice, is the patience and discretion that sometimes one flick of the atlas, audible, no audible, and an eye contact and a hug is the best clearing that they could have possibly gotten that day, if that's what you sensed was best serving of that person, right? And so it's the same kind of thing. So as far as the paperwork, all the logistics, you'll find your sweet spot whenever you plan to do this stuff. And, oftentimes, less is more. And when that stuff gets in the way, it's just like practice. What is a barrier for me to serve the people? And a lot of times the paperwork can be, but not giving any recommendations here. In the last couple of minutes, would anybody like to speak on the logistics of that type of thing, of the lack of consultation and long drawn out formal neurospinal assessment? Well, perfect. Beautiful, beautiful.
Well, I think in real time, as they're laying there, you're assessing and doing neurospinal as you go. You're getting a feel. You're serving with the intention of grounded center, open heart. Can always add more. Always respecting that human being, and we're just so guided so perfectly when it's set with those ingredients that's been in our mind for so long of serving and listening to the body. There's so much that gets said when we're in that state. And that is the real-time neurospinal assessment, taking it in all in a flash, that we're breaking down the steps so that things happen just like this in real time. And as you said, Wade, man, anything that gets in the way of that present time consciousness, that present time connection, that present time focus with that person is nothing more that you would do for your family, for the ones that you love the most. So those that you serve are just an extension of that. And so if you wouldn't serve your family in that context, then why would anyone else in the world, whether it be the homeless or battered women or anyone, that you would give them any less than who you love the most, or even serving yourself in the most situation of life and death that speaks so loudly. And this is why we set the stage that life is, put me in, coach, I'm here to serve. And you'd be surprised what happens in that moment and what comes through you so naturally, so quickly, as Arnaud says, that we become now a flow in that instrument, in the flow, just like any athlete, that the game plays through you, but life just expresses through us. And that's a beautiful thing. And that's actually the highest level of professionalism, because it speaks louder than anything we can say, do, or demonstrate.
Leave with this, as I ponder and reflect this whole service, this whole mission and vision, and back to when Gandhi was crowded by a whole team of reporters and media, because he had come to town, and he did not want to alert the media or anything, but they surround him and stick microphones in his face, and it's Gandhi, what is your message? Like, tell us and our viewers at home, what is your message? And I think most of us already know what he said. He says, my life is my message. And there's much to that. And so when it comes to ministry work, missionary work, is it possible for us to be called upon as chiropractors that our whole life is a mission? And so whether we're at the grocery store in a ritzy Whole Foods, or we're in Guatemala, or we're at the homeless shelter in the outskirts of the city, that we are constantly in mission with this amazing purpose and this amazing calling of chiropractic. Love each and every one of you. Nash, thank you for asking the question. Look forward to having you all. Everybody unmute your computers and bid a farewell to everybody watching. Love y'all.
Love, 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 love.
Hold on, everybody.